I'm Pastor Broderick, pastor of Lightpoint Church in Rancho, Cucamonga. What's different about our context is many churches with the traditional sense have the steeples and the marquees out in front. Ours is in the industrial complex. We're located next door to a brewery, also other organizations and businesses. So it's an advantage, and some will look at it as a disadvantage. Yeah, I chose to plant wood transformation is because, one of the main reasons is because how they mirror one of the denominations I came from, which is the Southern Baptist Convention, if you will, SBC, the SBC world. And so transformation has a plethora of resources that I've been finding out more and more. One of the biggest things, the program they got called StratOps, that's short for Strategy Operations of the Church. In our sense, we had one come down, a representative of TM, Kurt Mackey came down December, and it's kind of like the strategy ops of what they do. It's kind of like outside looking in to see what the church is doing, to see what the church needs, Lightpoint in our case. What's our pro and cons? Are we reaching our max potential of the people with the gospel? And so that's one of the main things that I see for what we've been using so far. And I know transformation has a lot of more things, resources. We probably did that, but the StratOps is huge because that program allowed us to dig deeper and be effective, more effective in a way that we weren't before with our ministries. For such a time as this right now, in the arena that we're in, that we may take the gospel further.
My name is Billy Ford. I have been the lead pastor at Boca Canyon Church in Santa Clarita, California for the past 17 years. And so we've had to adapt, and like everyone else, we've had to roll with changing times. And really grateful, by the way, that my pastor mentor group a couple years ago, we read a book called Canoeing the Mountains. And when the pandemic hit, wow, this was the perfect book that we went through. It came back to me a lot. We've had two sayings at our church. One is adapt or die, and the other is we need to be fluid because flexible is just too rigid. I can't say how grateful I am for the TM family. We as a church have benefited greatly by being connected with a wider body of Christ. One example, I one time panicked as a pastor on a Sunday where the attendance just seemed to plummet, and I thought, oh no, we've lost all momentum as a church. And I took my eyes off the Lord and started scheming on how to fix it without really seeking God. And my mentor pastor, Don Loomer, he a couple days later called me and said, hey, can I come out and take you to lunch? And he had no idea what I was going through, but the Lord had put me on his heart, and he shared with me that day words that impacted me deeply and really helped get my eyes back on the Lord and get back on track. And then not just pastor mentor groups, but just the family of TM, other pastors who I've come to know and love, and I look forward to seeing at various gatherings. And a few years ago, our church was going through a really difficult time, and we had some leaders pass away, and there were fires around Santa Clarita, and there were all of these things seemingly going wrong. Pastor Tom Mercer out in High Desert, he saw on the news about the fires, and he took the time to email me and check in and see how we were doing. And so I shared with him all the other struggles we were going through, and he shared some deeply impactful words. I would not have thought they would have helped me, but he said, brother, we're in a war. It's never going to get easy. And somehow it rang so true and encouraged me, and it encouraged our whole church when I shared the story with them. And the Lord has been with us, and the church has continued to thrive, and by God's grace.
So I'm Chris Carrich. I pastor Renovate Church here in Lakewood, California. We got our start right at the beginning of the pandemic. We actually launched our church online. That's how we started, and we did it on Easter Sunday of 2020. And on March 21st, 2021, we opened our doors for the very first time in downtown Long Beach. We were now going real church, like we were gonna actually open our doors and meet real people. And it was terrifying because for us, going into Long Beach, we heard the stories that about 11 years ago from today, there was about 25 church plants that came into Long Beach, and only one of them is still standing. Our plan was to stay there until Jesus came back. Like, we were excited, we loved that we were reaching people who came out of prison and served 20 years in prison. We were reaching, transients. And then one guy I'll never forget came in with a machete, and we loved, we're reaching people far from God. But God had this whole other plan, and in September of 2021, TM reached out to us about a church that was in Lakewood that was interested in a merger. And my response was, no way, not interested. But I said, hey God, if this is you, then we'll do it. They were looking out for two different churches, one who didn't know what to do about the future, and another, us, who I don't know if we could have survived downtown. I mean, I think we could have, but they were also worried about us and wondered, is God doing something here? I love how what TM did was they saw a church that was hurting, a TM church here in Lakewood, and wasn't knowing what to do about the future. They introduced us, and never once did they interfere or try to push anything. But I think TM's hope, and this is what I picked up on and appreciated, was not to make anything happen, but to say, is God in this? We got to see God confirm that when on September 12th of last year, West Lakewood Baptist voted, the remaining members of about 35 members, and they voted whether or not to say yes to me and Renovate Church coming in as this church plant that they would join. And it was 100% unanimous yes. And that to us was the confirmation that God was in this. And to me, time and time again, I've seen TM never try to step in and take over, or only coming in to try to help a pastor in support and making sure that they have everything they need to fulfill God's vision in their life.